Alrighty, it is a beautiful morning here in South Georgia. Got a sweatshirt on. It's about 65 degrees. I'd rather it be about 95 degrees, but it's a cool morning for us. We were just at this system on Tuesday, and today is Saturday. Should have already done a video on this group. They came in, they were pretty consistent for about a week, and then they just disappeared. Normal deer season activity behavior, what we call. What'll happen is they'll come in, they'll find a food source, and then they'll wander around in some woods. They'll find some acorns, they'll find a grub, they'll find a peanut field. Extremely dry in South Georgia, extremely dry. In fact, so dry, some of the farmers had stopped plowing up peanuts because the ground was so hard. If the ground is hard when they're trying to plow peanuts, it just kind of makes logical sense. They can't get the peanuts up. If the field is irrigated with water, then it's not an issue. It's going to be really hard the next couple of months trapping because a lot of the farmers were forced to go ahead and plow up, leaving an abundance of peanuts behind in the fields, which is a big food source besides all of the corn that's being pushed by deer hunters. So our group disappeared, kind of normal during deer season. They may have found a pile of corn somewhere, a peanut field, whatever. Then they came back, and we're getting that same consistent number. So boom, flip the switch. We've got a little time before it gets daylight, so we're not having to put a severe wiggle in it. The bride, AKA the boss, she was up till about 2 a.m., watching the camera. I gotta find the cameras, and then I took over. So we got a little bit of time here. Small family business is how we get it done. We take shifts on these groups, but they consistently were coming in around the same time, which is a couple hours before daylight. So we got at least a good hour before we start even getting near daylight situation. We're gonna load up this Tacoma, one of the trailers, probably throw on the Recon, and literally put it in the wind. Got my chai tea going this morning. And anyway, so I don't think it should be too crazy. The field that's closest to this trap, which is between, it's in a strip of woods. One is our landowner, the other is somebody else. Our landowner had cotton and corn. Corn was picked several months ago, not much left out there. So feel pretty good. Still gonna go on with the thermal and then switch to that 22. Don't need to do maintenance because we were just there. So pretty much it's gonna be thermal in, make sure we're clean, take out the 22, take them down, and wrap it up. And the good news is it's a beautiful day, and we're gonna get a bunch of crap done today because guess what? We're starting our day off early. So hang on. All right, so we're on property. Nothing outside the gate. If you haven't watched any of our videos before, we're always running a camera outside the gate. Standard procedure for us. Camera's been clean. The hogs are pretty active. A lot of times after you drop the gate to lay down, they've only had roughly a little over an hour to be in there. 6:20, so we got to put a wiggle in it. We're going to start getting some daylight here in about 30 minutes. We're just going to ease down through. It's a picked cornfield. We've got a cotton field on our right. They were actually over here Tuesday when we were doing our maintenance, spraying the cotton. It's about ready to be picked now. And so we do have a little bit of a road through some planted pines that we can snake through, do some good thermal work. So we've been standing there doing some thermal work on this cut cornfield. It was cut a couple months ago. Crop wasn't that great. It's a non-irrigated field. So didn't produce really that well. So there's not a lot of leftover, kernels of corn out there in the field. But a beautiful morning here. I mean, I'll give you a shot of that moon if you can see it. There she is. Wind is kind of good. Once we get down there in the woods and start cutting towards the trap, the wind will be good for what we're doing. Wind is a big direction on these hogs. They can smell extremely well. Crazy well. Anytime you're doing this thermal work, this is one of our pretty big complaints. you got to know these fields. You got to know how thick these woods are. You got to know your surroundings, you know. And some of these people that go out here and do thermal work, they don't know any of that. A lot of liability there. We've got a huge cow operation right off here to our left. You know, the woods are between this and the next crop field is kind of thick, but not like super thick. And there's a few residential houses over there scattered along these crop fields. You know, we're running a 308 AR-10. You know, that little bullet likes to go places. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration. And, you know, are you trained to run a rifle like that? And, you know, do you kind of gather all that? So we've actually seen some of our landowners now put it into their contracts for when they lease their fields, no thermal work, you know, just because a lot of people aren't running liability insurance like we are. So just a little tidbit of information there. We're going to buzz on down here, and then we'll get back to you. So right here at the trap, we're about 30 yards from the trap. They don't know I'm here. The wind is perfect. It's blowing from the top of the trap to the bottom, so we're coming in from the gate side. So everything's clean out here with the thermal. We're going to go ahead and go in, so hang on. Here we go. If you listen, you can hear them. About 10 yards from the gate. Little advertisement for Jaeger Pro. Hey, fellas. There we go. We're running a 4-leg on-time feeder. Big pole, mine texting camera. That owl does nothing except give the squirrels something to chew on. So this white and black pattern that you see, real common in this part of the county. We see this. There's a little fella right there. Hey, fella. Real common. See that color. So, but anyway, so it's a 12-panel Jaeger Pro single gate. It's not the newest gate, not the oldest gate. And then we're running a ice camera on the outside like everything else. My thermal's over there, so we have like a little bit of a road between these pines. We keep a lot of brush in this trap. You can see all the vines. This trap's been here for several years now. It's moved around the property several times. So you see that little bit of on that feeder guard. That's just a feed bag. We've had some issues in the past with the corn getting kind of over that direction, and it's kind of out of the view. This trap is not perfectly designed like I would prefer it. I'd prefer it to be a little bit more oval, just a little bit more round. And, hey guys, I'm trying to do a video, do you mind? And so, anyway, the trap is not designed like we would want it. So we just put that little bit of a feed bag and it just deflects that corn down. That way we keep everybody in view of the camera. So anyway, that's kind of it. We're going to go ahead and take them down. Been really windy here the last couple of days. A little cool front coming in. And Nothing out there in the cornfields out that direction, and nothing down here in the woods. And like I said, the wind was blowing this direction from the top of the trap to the bottom, and our approach was that way. We came in this way. So went pretty smooth. Go ahead and put them down and get on with it. The brush just gives them a lot of comfort when they come into the trap. It also, at this portion here, you know, kind of keeps them from getting so cranked up. And we don't want them out there, which is the food source. So that's why our trap is down here in the woods, but not too far down in the woods, because we would be pushing them out when we come in to do maintenance. So with all that being said, we're gonna put these hogs down and we'll get back to you. So they went down pretty smooth. When you're dealing with a group of hogs, and we talk about this in all the videos, typically you'll be able to pick out, it doesn't matter if it's a boar or sow, generally there's gonna be one that's kind of running the show. You wanna go ahead and take that one out as quickly as you can. After that, the more you push towards them, generally the more it spins them up. So you want to be methodical, calculated on what you're doing. And if you spin them up, they're just going to spin up and it's a mess. You're going to crank up their adrenaline. It's just a hot mess. We run 1022, Ruger 1022 platforms, laser sight, flashlight combinations, iron sight scopes. In our opinion, throw all that out the window. You want a laser sight. Even in this situation here, I did a little work off the gate and then I actually got up on a panel. We carry a little belly bag. That's what I say in karate all the time, belly. A little belly bag. And in our belly bag, you know, we're carrying about 6 15-round Ruger magazines. Easy magazine exchange and keep things going. So talk about it in other videos. The young ones is never easy. Never easy. One, it's a smaller target. Two, most of us weren't raised to take anything off the earth that we weren't planning on eating, you know, and especially, you know, we're not out there shooting little fawns in the woods and stuff. And so it's tough. You just got to stay focused. That little hog is going to be a big hog. This group here had the potential to be a hot mess, meaning this one sow, she's not far from dropping. The other sow was pregnant. The other sow was nursing 7. And then we had a small up-and-coming young boar. And for a young boar, he was pretty stout. He's very well built. So the interesting part is you know, the experts, which we're not the experts, but the experts say a sow can push out, you know, 12 babies a year, 3 times a year. It's kind of what you read, what you hear, what you see. We typically see like 5 to 7. A lot of it depends on the nutritional value that this sow is getting. How healthy is she? Not much different than humans. And what is the food sources out here? This is a pretty small sow that was nursing 7 babies. So she dropped 7 and she was nursing 7. Pretty impressive. The most that we've ever seen out of a really big sow, like a 300-pound sow, was like 10 babies. So I'm gonna buzz you around, show you what we got. You can see the sun's coming up. It's you know, besides the putting the hogs down in the trap, beautiful way to start your morning out here in the woods, the hell away from people. No social media, no nothing, man. I mean, no manipulation of anything, just out here in God's woods. So hang on. All right, so as I said, we were well on our way to this being a pretty decent sized group of hogs. We've got up and coming sow, little boar, another little boar, another sow. So that's 4 right there. And then up here we got number 5, which is another little sow, soon to be sow. There's another one up here, and that's going to be a little boar. So that's 6 if I did my math. My teachers and all of my grades of education would be very impressed. And this would be the max of my knowledge, which would be number 7, which is a little boar. Now, there's the sow that was nursing all 7 of those. That's a lot on her, but she pushed out 7 babies that we know of. Now, over here, we've got this big sow who's clearly pregnant. Clearly pregnant. You know, you'll actually start to see some indentations in their belly when they're getting closer. And I'm no hog expert. Some of the people we work for raised hogs, so they would know a lot better than I. But she's close to dropping. And over here, we have another sow who is pregnant. And last but not least, we got our little stout boar. And he was quite the little fireball, but young boar. So 1 boar, 2 pregnant sows, 1 nursing sow with 7 babies. So we did a video on this group about trapping intelligently and exactly what does that mean. And we watched this group and watched them, but knowing that we had a major food source out here in this field. Yeah, corn's kind of gone, but still a food source. Then they disappeared, which is normal for deer season, and then they came back, and then they got back into their pattern. So again, it stresses the point of proactive hog control. Historically in the United States, we've always been reactive with hog control. And this trap has been here for years. I think maybe 2 or 3 months ago, we trapped a single boar out of it. But it sits here and it waits and it waits and it waits. And these groups migrate through because they're a migratory animal. And then they find it and then they'll lock onto it. So the key is staying up on your maintenance, keeping corn in it. It's a little frustrating for us because, we all brush our teeth, we all floss to prevent cavities. We don't wait till we get a cavity and then start doing all that crap. So a lot of what we do as a society is very proactive. But for some reason in hog control, it's reactive. And our approach is proactive. This is the way that we see this work. This group migrated back out, was gone for a week. They went somewhere, but they remembered this food source, and then they came back. And then we knew what the group was, and we locked them in. We did our thermal work to make sure there was nothing in the field, nothing out here. We weren't educating any hogs, and then we flipped the switch. So, got to walk back up, get the recon, start our cleanup process, reset the system. As I said, we're not going to do any maintenance today. We just did it on Tuesday. Today is Saturday. But we will test everything and make sure that everything is working. It's electronic, so things break, they change, whatever, who knows. Make sure everything's firing and working, and put a wiggle in it. So we'll get back to you. So we got them dragged out of the trap over here. And the beauty of the recon is, the reason we like it so much, is this trap's a little hard to get in through the panels, so we can just drive it under the gate. But I would advise you to get off the four-wheeler if you go under the gate. It's a little close. I don't think it'd work out if you stayed up on the seat. So there's our sow with her 7 babies. Pretty impressive. Small sow, that she could push 7 out. And kept them alive to get that big. And I promise you, they're clearly big enough to make it in the real world. There's our little boar off to the side. There's our big old sow. She looks a lot bigger out here. Now you get her out of the brush. Clearly pregnant. And then we got our other sow here that's clearly pregnant. So, as I said, this would have been a hot mess real quick. This is a group that could turn into, a really big group. And so people, don't see a point in trapping, during deer season, trapping all year. If we take a break, they just keep doing what they're doing. So that's probably going to wrap up the video today. Sun's coming up, beautiful day. Hopefully pretty soon we'll be able to take this sweatshirt off. And we're going to get them loaded and get out of here. So, hard time of the year to trap hogs, deer season. It's really hard. A lot of food out there. The name of the game, the way we see it, in our opinion, is The consistency is really not there because there's so much food, but you start to learn the group, and even if they disappear for a short period of time, you know, watch them for a couple more days to make sure they didn't pick up some friends while they were on an excursion. And then once you know that they don't have any friends, then go ahead and take them. But that consistency, like when there's limited food sources, every night, we'll see a space, you know, where they might just pop off for a couple days, a week. The bottom line is they don't forget a food source. They're going to come back to it. And so, and when you're in that reactive state of mind, we just don't agree with it. Proactive. Keep corn on the ground. The systems are up and running. You're watching and you're waiting. And as they migrate through, they find the food source and they're like, hey, we got food here. There you go. So, that being said, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Please give us feedback. We really do like the feedback. We're just trying to do some educational videos out there. And, you know, 25 years ago, when we started, it was a necessity to trap our property due to hogs. You know, we had no idea that one day it would turn into a business. We had no idea that we'd be doing videos. The frustrating part for us is the tactics that we were using 25 years ago are literally still being used today by people. Trapping systems that we used 25 years ago are still being used, still being sold, still being made. So why do we do the videos? Because of that. That's why. Because we're like going, hey, 25 years ago, if we had this type of technology, cellular technology, if there was the information out there about trapping intelligently, understanding that hogs are the fourth smartest creature in the world, understanding that they're a migratory beast, you know, the battle that we had on our own property would have not been the battle it was for years. So we do the videos to go, hey, come on, man, we know better. We know better to run tripwires. We need cameras. Right now, currently, we've got 22 traps in the field, over 60 cameras running. I mean, we don't know it all, but we've learned so much in 25 years that we want to pass that knowledge on. So if you've got property, you know, you can trap it intelligently and not be educating hogs. So that's my speech for an early Saturday morning. Y'all have a great day. Give us feedback. So we said the video was done, but it's not done. We're really curious about a lot of things with the hog. It's not just about trapping them. It's trying to understand it, learn it, you know, see what we can do differently. We went ahead and cut the big sow open just to kind of see, like, you know what we're looking at numbers wise. So she had nine babies in her. That's what we'll see in those bigger sows. We've never seen anything. We've trapped sows of 350 pounds. They're pregnant, 10. The young sow, believe it or not, she had 5 in her. And she was small. And so, you know, sometimes people show that stuff. Hell, I don't want to cut them open, but it's really more about just trying to learn, like, what is possible when you hear what the experts say. We're not going to show that. Just take our word for it. You know, big girl had 9, little girl had 5. And scary jump. I mean, you know, when people are out there going, was there something different we can do? When you're combating numbers like that and say they can push out 3 litters a year, man, we're up against a brick wall. The research, we love the research aspect of this, the behavior. I did research in my old job. I love it. My minor's in psychology. I love it. Unfortunately, we haven't paired up with any universities to do some research, but we would definitely encourage or support that, be all about that. Because the only way we're going to get ahead of this curve is to learn these creatures inside and out to the best of our ability. For us, it's not a big hoorah, let's go have a good time, trap hogs. I mean, it's an environmental issue on so many fronts, not just for the farmers. And we just want to combat it to the best of our ability. And the key is humanely. Y'all have a great day. We are done now. Got to hit the big red button.